What's happening, folks? Okay. Sorry, I had to take care of the dogs. We are going to discuss the investigation that's going on in Texas County, but there has been another plane crash. So we are going to go over that right now. It looks like to be a big Delta plane. What is up with all these plane crashes? Hey, Bianca. Hello, everybody. Christopher's never even caught up yet. You're not going to continue to be my pet if you don't catch up. I'm just saying it. Just going to say it. I was just outside. It dropped 30 degrees. Yeah, we're supposed to have snow too. Okay, let's get to it, guys. Let's get to the plane crash first. Okay. In Canada. It crashed in Canada. Okay, maybe this is it.
So we have some early images that we're working to verify right now, but based on what we are seeing, that there's a tail number that we've been able to put into flight radar and confirm that this is a plane it was a Delta Airlines plane, as you say, and it was coming from Minneapolis to Toronto. It was scheduled to land around 2:13 in the afternoon Eastern time. We don't know exactly what has happened here, but there has been enough of an emergency here that the FAA has put out an advisory for a ground stop at Pearson. The reason being for aircraft emergency. Now, Toronto Pearson has just after 3 p.m. Eastern. They have put out a tweet, and you referred to this, but let me read it. It says, Toronto Pearson is aware of an incident upon landing involving a Delta Airlines plane arriving from Minneapolis. Emergency teams are responding. All passenger and crew are accounted for to the point that emergency teams are responding. We understand that Peel paramedics, having heard from them directly, that they are on scene with about 10 paramedic vehicles on the tarmac. They have said that there are 8 patients. The extent of the injuries unknown from that conversation, but I know, Mark, you were saying that what we now understand is that one of those patients is in hospital with critical injuries. The others perhaps are more minor injuries at this point. This was a plane that was going to turn around, going to be heading back to Minneapolis. That is obviously not happening right now because of there is this ground stop and to the point that there are reports that this is a plane that has somehow flipped over. That is not something that we understand how that could have happened, but that is going to be obviously, Mark, a huge source of investigation moving forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. I mean, just looking at this image that you've shown us here, Sarah, I can't. I've been a journalist for 20 years. I can't say I've covered many plane crashes, but just I think as a person and someone who's online every day, I can't say I've ever seen something like this. I wonder how something like this happens. Not saying that you would, but I mean,
No,
just
but to your point, Mark, I mean, that's why there was some hesitation initially when we first, that had to be verified, because it does seem, it is a rather incredible image to initially see. It does explain everything I've said in terms of the ground stop and the possible injuries and the fact that there might only be 8 injured patients. It's hard to say how many people were on board that plane that was coming from Minneapolis, but all passengers, according to Toronto Pearson, are accounted for. And as we understand from the paramedics, 8 people suffering degree of injury from this. I will say, based on that tail number, them being able to track where the plane had come from and where it was about to go, we can also tell you that the make of this, the plane, the model, it's a twin jet, a CRJ 900. That will sound familiar to some who have been paying attention to the news over the last couple of weeks. It's the same model aircraft, that twin jet, as the one that had the mid-air collision with the Black Hawk helicopter in Washington, D.C. And in which case, in that accident, there were no survivors. To this point, we're talking about injuries, not a case of fatalities, at least not yet. But we're watching very closely in terms of what we might hear from paramedics on that.
It'd be interesting to see, Sarah, as well. The factor that the weather would play in a situation like this. Toronto was not immune to the winter weather that hit much of the country over the last couple days. At the time that we're speaking right now, not long after this crash, it is -9 outside in Toronto, winds 27 kilometers an hour, so it's pretty windy out there. Again, purely speculative. I don't know whether wind would have played a part in this or weather would have played a part in this, but it certainly can't help. And I can only imagine what is going through the minds of the people. I'm assuming, looking at this photo, these are people that were on the plane, now exiting the plane on the tarmac, not dressed for the elements, probably the last thing on their mind at this point after what they've just gone through. But I'm curious to see how much of a factor, if any, weather played in this.
Well, and certainly, I mean, it certainly will be part of any investigation into this. Weather always is, of course, and to your point, we saw Trisha Kindleman standing outside in what is a very snowy Toronto, and the same would be true for the area out by the airport. So certainly, yeah, weather conditions are going to play a role. But just one more time, let me recap here that Toronto Pearson International saying that they are aware of an incident. This is the tweet that came just after 3 p.m. local time, that this is an incident, an accident that is involving a Delta Airlines plane that was coming in from Minneapolis. That emergency teams are on the tarmac that are responding. We understand from talking to Peel paramedics that they have at least 10 paramedic vehicles that are on the tarmac dealing with this. And that in terms of the passengers who were on board, according to the airport, all passengers and crew are accounted for. According to the paramedics, of those passengers and crew on board, there are 8 injuries. At least one is in hospital with potentially critical injuries, but the extent of all injuries, that we're waiting for more confirmation on that. But again, all passengers accounted for. And that is, a kind of an incredible thing to be able to say when you look at that image and you consider that this is a plane that appears to be completely on its back, somehow having flipped upon arriving from Minneapolis to Toronto, just before 2:15 p.m. Eastern local time.
And then you just got to say, wow, it's crazy. Let's see here. There's more. Let's go back a little bit more.
19 appears to have flipped over following landing. The Toronto Pearson Airport released a statement on X saying, quote, emergency teams are responding. All passengers and crew are accounted for. The flight originated from Minneapolis-St. Paul. Senior transportation correspondent Chris Van Cleve joins me now. Chris, what do we know?
Well, John, we understand that some federal officials are hearing reports of some injuries here, but again, the airport says everyone is accounted for. There are images trickling out that show this CRJ 900, which is a regional jet. It was operated by Delta's regional carrier Endeavor, but operating as a Delta flight. The plane appears to be upside down. The wings and tail ripped off. The nose landing gear still in place. People are being taken off the airplane. Medical crews have responded in Toronto. The Toronto Pearson Airport had gotten a significant amount of snow over the last week. In fact, over the weekend, they were working quite hard to clear. It had been about 7 inches of snow going into yesterday. So weather conditions there will be something that will certainly be looked at here. But we're looking at another U.S. airliner. This one operated as a Delta Connection flight that had an accident while or shortly after landing, in this case in Toronto. We don't know how many people are on board yet, but the airport says everyone is accounted for. We hear that there may be some injuries, but it does look like the cabin of the airplane, the passenger area of the plane, remained intact fully when whatever went wrong, and it went wrong with enough force, it appears, to have ripped the wings and the tail off the airplane, and it came to rest there on a runway in Toronto. Obviously, this is an unfolding situation. A lot of questions about how this.
But that was a wild ride. Wow.
Could have happened. What could have resulted in this plane essentially flipping over as it was touching down or shortly after touching down from Minneapolis-St. Paul, John?
Chris, is there anything in that terminology, all are accounted for, that that we should take any clues from or that can be put into any further context? Or are they just literally trying to give us the limit of what they know without trying to get ahead of themselves, which is also something we won't do?
I think it's that. I think it's an effort to not get ahead of themselves. We don't know how many people were on this aircraft. The airport says passengers and crew all accounted for. Certainly, they're going to have to be assessed for injuries. It would be almost unfathomable to think that no one was hurt in this kind of accident. So there will likely be some injuries. We are hearing that federal authorities are receiving some reports or some indications there were injuries. Because this incident happened in Canada, the Canadian version of the NTSB will lead this investigation. I've spoken with the U.S. NTSB. They are aware of this incident. They will essentially be invited to join as a party. They will contribute whatever investigators or investigative power that the Canadian equivalent may need, but this will be led by the Canadians with the NTSB assisting wherever they can here. John, this comes after a real startling period of aviation accidents involving U.S. aircraft. If we think back barely 3 weeks ago, you had the midair collision over Washington, D.C. That killed 67 people. 2 days later, you had that Learjet crash in Philadelphia in spectacular fashion, caught on camera. We saw that killed 6 people on board, 1 person on the ground, 10 people in the Cessna Citation flying in Alaska en route to Nome. And then just last week here in the Phoenix area, that plane that had a landing gear collapse on landing and crash into another plane, that killed at least 1 person and injured several others. Now we have this incident, which, fingers crossed, we are hoping what the airport means by accounted for is that everybody survived this crash, but we just don't know that, and we don't know the extent of any injuries just yet.
Chris Van Cleve, Senior Transportation Correspondent. Thank you very much, Chris. We're now going to talk to transportation safety expert and analyst Robert Sumwalt, who joins us. Mr. Sumwalt served as the chair of the National Transportation Safety Board. What's your first reaction to this? A CRJ 900, Chris reports the tail and wings have been sheared off. It's upside down. Your thoughts?
Well, I think my first thoughts, John, are I'm glad to hear that everyone is accounted for. And hopefully, as you indicated, hopefully that does mean that everybody is at least okay.
And what does it suggest anything to you that that the plane is upside down? And obviously, we don't want to speculate about things beyond the pictures that we're seeing, but or go too far. But a plane being upside down on the tarmac there, does that suggest anything to you?
Well, I think, as Chris indicated, it's a lot of snow there and on the airport. And I think that, the airport could have been sliding and then somehow or another gone off the runway and gone upside down. So it's really, as you know, it's just a lot of speculation at this point.
And we won't go any farther than that. Help me understand the coordination with the Canadian version of the NTSB. Chris says they'll be taking the lead. But obviously, since the flight originated in the States, I would assume there's a protocol for NTSB working hand in hand with them.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The Transportation Safety Board of Canada does an excellent job, and the NTSB will be invited in as an accredited representative, since it is a U.S. registered airplane and U.S. operated airplane. NTSB will be invited in, so they will work hand in hand together to determine what happened here, and most importantly, come up with recommendations to keep something like this from happening again.
All right, Robert Sumwalt, former chair of the National Transportation Safety Board, thank you so much. Just to recap here, a plane landing at Toronto Airport has flipped over. The airport says all passengers and crew are accounted for. That's what we know at the moment. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight on the CBS Evening News. This has been a CBS News special report. I'm John Dick.
Okay, let's see here. So basically, did the plane roll? How did it lose both wings and the tail? That's strange. I don't know. Did the plane actually roll? And where are the wings? There's going to be live footage that comes out of this, you can bet. So, let's see here. I'll try to keep an eye on this. And when they release stuff, I know the team will too. They'll let me know. So, yeah. So, a plane crash going from Minnesota to Canada that crashed on the landing, lost both wings and the tail. Everybody accounted for, and it sounds like early on here that maybe one went to the hospital. We don't really know, but yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. I'm gonna stop that screen. Interesting indeed. Christopher says, I've been around planes my whole life, so have I, without hitting something. It don't lose wings and a tail. I agree. It had to have rolled. I mean, literally rolled. But, I mean, we don't know how they was on their approach of the landing, like how fast they were going. I mean, I fly a lot, you know, and you land pretty fast, and you got to have your seatbelt on because, you know, they're shutting it down quite quick. So we don't know how fast it was going, and it could have rolled a couple times, is what I'm saying. It's very possible. How? I don't know. Maybe the first, you know, it went on one of its wheels and broke that wing and rolled again and broke the other wing, and because you don't even see the wings there. So are the wings on the other side where we can't see the wings? Hello, Micah. Hello to everyone. So last night was really interesting. You know, we were going over the documentary. A couple locals came in on 2 different occasions. One informed us about the district attorney in Texas County. He actually has 4 counties. He's under FBI investigation. So is the task force agents that are appointed by the DA. And it does mention the one and only Kevin McIntyre in there. So it's okay. Listen, we didn't get off of here till 2:30, and then we stayed up. We stayed up digging and trying to figure things out. All of a sudden, we find out that Clint Twombly is still doing his county job, even though he won the sheriff race and got elected. And the guy that was the undersheriff, Swinton, that said that he couldn't run for sheriff because I asked him because he was 8 days shy of his residency there, they swore him in on January 7th. So, I'm going to look up a couple things. First, we're going to look up the race for, first we'll look up we'll do this. We'll look up Texas County. I mean, Cimarron County. Sheriff. I know I always spell it wrong. Let's see here. Okay. For those that watched last night, hello, Nona. I'm trying to bring up other documentation too for you to see. Okay. Sheriff Mark Swinton. Sheriff Mark Swinton was sworn into office on January 7, 2025, after earning the trust and support of Cimarron County residents. With a strong background in law enforcement, he brings years of experience in public safety, community policing, and criminal investigations to the role. Prior to becoming sheriff, he served as undersheriff in Cimarron County. a position he held from October 2023 until his election. His leadership in this role reinforced his commitment to protecting and serving the community with integrity and professionalism. I met this man. I like this man. And again, we're going to pull up the election because he wasn't in it. But I'm glad he got this job. There was a lady, it came down to Cole Twombly and a lady, Tanya Wood or something like that. We're going to look it up. But I'm glad that they got this guy. He seems to be a good guy from the different conversations I had with him. Sheriff Swinton's law enforcement career began in Luther Police Department, where he has served as a police officer since August of 2020. His experience in local policing has provided him with a deep understanding of public safety challenges and the importance of building strong relationships with the community. A graduate of Ripley High School, Sheriff Swinton pursued studies in Homeland Security, law enforcement, firefighters, and related protective services, equipping him with the knowledge and skills necessary to lead the Cimarron County Sheriff Office effectively. Listen, that sheriff office over there in Cimarron County has had issues, and that's why they brought this guy on. I don't think they've had any issues since he's been brought on as the undersheriff, and I think it's great that he become the sheriff. As sheriff, Mark Swinton is dedicated to enhancing public safety strength, community partnerships, and ensuring that Cimarron County remains a safe and welcoming place. You know, when Clint Twombly won the sheriff race, before he even took over in January, on their Facebook, they'd already put Clint Twombly's face on there as sheriff, even though he hadn't taken over yet. All of that's been removed. It's all been removed. So, it's strange. I find it very strange. Let's see here. Well, now we're going to look at the race. The Texas sheriff race. Because I know for a fact that he told me that he was 8 days shy of residency. That's why he wasn't running for sheriff. And I found that too. I thought that was bullshit. He was already the undersheriff. There wasn't a sheriff. Why couldn't he run? He was already doing it. I never understood that. Okay. Sheriff race or sheriff election in Cimarron County. Oops. I need to put my glasses on. Let's see here. They've replaced everything with this, but I pulled up something last night. I mean, why can't I find the election results now? It's probably operator error. Rock needs more sleep. Okay. Let's see here. I'm looking for the sheriff race. Hold on. Okay, Court of Civil Appeals. Wow. That didn't give it to me either. Interesting. I'm looking for the results. Hold on. For Cimarron County. Okay, hold on. Back to you guys. Make sure I haven't missed nothing. Okay. I need more ultra crystals for this day, right? I need some sleep. I'm going to have a nap. No, it's not time around. Okay. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to show you that, for one, I want to make it very clear. I like the sheriff, the guy that got sheriff in Cimarron County. You send it to my phone. Okay, let me look. Rock's moving slow today. I really am. Oh. Let's see here. Gosh, how do I... Should have had you send that to me in Discord. That's what I should have did. Let me see if I can... What is this? The BP? What is this? Okay, let me just do this. This will bring it up. Let me just delete all this. Okay. Clint Twombly. Did you just send it to Discord? Because I just heard it, I think. Let me look. Hold on, guys. Okay. Let me reshare. Let me reshare. Oh, that's a lot easier. Thank you. Here we go. Thanks, Deb. Okay. Okay. Clint Twombly, Cimarron County Sheriff, Oklahoma candidate 2024. Oklahoma 2024 elections. Okay, candidates. Clint Twombly and Tanya Wood. Clint Twombly and Tanya Wood ran in the Republican primary for Cimarron County Sheriff on June 18, 2024. Looks like Clint Twombly won. He got 384 votes, and Tanya Wood got 112. So maybe Oklahoma does it different. But don't usually, like when you're running against somebody, if you bow out and choose not to take it, that other person gets it. Again, I like the sheriff that's there. I met him, talked to him several times. I like him. But if Tanya Wood, if it came down to Clint Twombly and Tanya Wood, how come Tanya Wood didn't get it? Or why didn't they have another election? This is just really weird. I didn't want to question it too much because I actually think they got the right choice. I didn't know Tanya Wood, but I had met the undersheriff, and I think he seemed to be a good guy. I don't live there, so hey. And thanks, Deb. Got it. Tech Genius got you covered. Yes, right. That's what I was wondering. I mean, usually, or they have another election. Something happened here. Something really weird has happened here. We'll have to see what the locals have to say. Now, I was going to go over something else. So once we're done with this, like we got to still do some digging. So Clint Wobbly's still working for the Cimarron County government office, whatever. Maybe he cleans streets, road grader. I don't know. I really don't know. But that's what I assume he does. That was the role he had before, they said. And, you know, very possibly with everything that's going on with his truck and maybe that trailer being on his property. I mean, I'm going to assume he was running for sheriff way before This stuff happened in the end of March, Easter weekend. So, this is, anyway. Yeah, usually I always thought they just, maybe Tanya backed out. That's what I'm saying. But I will say this, and this is from hearing from locals. I mean, KM used to be a sheriff there. Like, for some reason in Cimarron County, they've had a really hard time keeping a sheriff and a good sheriff. Like, there's been a lot that's been let go. And we can go into that another time. But they definitely had their sheriffs. The guy that made sheriff that they gave it to, like I said, he was the undersheriff, and they had no sheriff. So good for him for getting it. It just seems weird. I'm just saying it seems weird. Then we got this stuff with Texas County. Actually, it ends up being 4 counties. So let me see if I can't pull up that article too. I got so much stuff up here. Pull up that article again of the Oklahoma Watch in Texas County. Oklahoma Watch. It's a paper, I believe. Texas County DA under investigation. And the task force, the DA task force. It's also in the McAllister News. So let's see here. Let me bring this up for you guys. It's something different than we watched yesterday, so that's okay. Good old KM, boy, he's showing up everywhere. And it's never good. It's always a horrible trail. This is crazy. Okay. No, I don't want to log in, so let me back out. Okay, here's another one. Let's see if this will work. It made me back out. So, here we go. Here's a different one. Let's see here. Traffic scheme nets DA's office in Oklahoma Panhandle millions. It's a 10-minute read. Texas County. So, I'm not going to read the whole thing. You guys can go read it. Okay? But basically what happens is, let me just skip down. This trucker, this lady, Tammy Vada, was traveling from Albuquerque, New Mexico to Hiawatha, Iowa, mostly along Highway US 54. She stopped for the night in Stratford, Texas, had 2 cookies for dinner, and woke the next morning with no idea that her whole view of life in America was about to be shattered. June 12th was a beautiful day with no wind and clear sailing on US 54. As she was passing through Goodwill, population of 920, Voda said she was doing far less than the posted 45 miles per hour because she was running heavy, and US 54 has some curves through town. Even beyond city limits, she said she couldn't get her rig up to the posted 70 miles per hour. She maxed out at 68. Nevertheless, red lights appeared in her rearview mirror. Roadside inspection had to be. Voda had never committed a crime and had 21 years as a trucker with a spotless record, but cops could pull you over for a roadside inspection without cause. It was a pain, and Voda said she wasn't a fan, but accepted it as part of the job. That's when it got weird, and Voda became part of a system of fines that produced no court records, but brought more than $2 million to the district attorney's office. Are you telling me there's not a trail of this money being collected? Officer Karen Gray, badge number 79, came on hot, like Vada was a suspected serial killer, as the trucker described it. It didn't make any sense. The truck log showed she wasn't speeding. Vada asked a few questions, and strangely, the officer told her not to worry. It was all going to be okay. Gray returned from her cruiser with a slip of paper from the District 1 Drug Task Force associated with the local district attorney's office. The ticket, if that's what it was, claimed Boda had been caught on radar doing 58 in a 45 miles per hour zone. But the ticket was oddly permitted. There was no statute listed, no fine, no order to appear, nothing even to sign. Gray told Boda to call the number listed there. There would be some cost, but then it would be like the whole thing never happened. To Boda, that just didn't seem right. Over the next couple of days, she did some digging, and it started to look like some laws were being broken, maybe a violation of the Hobbs Act of 1951, which prohibits the obstruction or delay of interstate commerce. That included extortion, which is exactly how this felt. Now, Boda's back was up. This is America, last time I checked, she said. She called the number and got an email instructing her to pay $360, more than she would have paid for a ticket. The local fine for speeding 11 to 15 miles per hour over the posted limit is $160. An attached document threatened Boda with a warrant for a criminal misdemeanor if she didn't pay up. No way, Boda said. She wasn't having it. I will have no part in that at all ever, she said. Integrity comes at a price. I think me and her are related. She tried the official channels. The Oklahoma Highway Patrol referred her to the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation, which referred her to the Attorney General's office, which referred her to the FBI. The FBI called the local district attorney, which didn't make much sense because the DA was the one running the alleged racket. In the end, the FBI said the matter had been referred to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review. A defunding practice. At first, Attorney James Worth of Worth Law Office out of Tulsa, which handles many cases involving speeding tickets and moving violations, didn't see a lot in Boda's story that stuck out suspicious. Sure, the ticket was strange, no court date, no statutory citation, but pretty clearly it was deferred prosecution agreement in which offenders are offered an opportunity to pay a high fine to have an offense erased from their record. But even that was strange for a few reasons. First, deferred prosecution agreements are rare. Most of the time when we're talking about deferred prosecution, it's in really unusual cases, Worth said. The statute allows for it, so it's legitimate, but it's not very common. Second, it was strange for a drug task force to be giving speeding tickets based out of local DA offices and smacking more than a little of vigilantism. Drug task forces have been around for decades. In Oklahoma, they're more common in rural areas than cities, though one will soon be forming in Tulsa. Worth said the task force pulled people over for sketchy reasons all the time. The manufacturer probable cause to conduct searches and seize money. Could they write speeding tickets? ? Maybe, but it was just so small time. They don't care about speeding, Worth said. Speeding is just a means to pull people over, and then they want to find something else so they can do the search. It's all for bigger stuff. They're not looking for $350 tickets, he said. They don't even waste their time writing that stuff. Last Worth said he didn't see any motive behind the notice Boda received. It was all very odd, but it didn't fit with the kind of police abuses the Worth said his office sees regularly. Vice squads using the images of innocent girls and prostitution ads to entrap men, traffic stops of minorities for forfeiture purposes, coerce minors into participating in dangerous drug stings. Did the whole thing sound like a shakedown? Yes, Worth agreed with that much. And sure, Worth said it was a way to skirt the Fourth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, protecting against unlawful search and seizure. But without any evidence that the practice was widespread, it looked like Voda's case was just one-off. Oops. The district attorney. In 2007, former Carter County Drug Task Force investigator Kevin McIntyre was indicted on an embezzlement charge following a drug bust. McIntyre pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of willful neglect of duty to a public office official and was ordered to return $2,600 and relinquish his police certification. In 2016, after a years-long probation period, McIntyre took over as agent in charge of the District 1 Drug Task Force. This is the same guy that was indicted? District 1 comprises 4 panhandle counties whose populations total a little more than 31,000 people. The unit's Facebook page includes recent posts about seizures of thousands of fentanyl pills, pounds of meth and cocaine, and a handgun. Documents indicate that in 18 years, the task force has seized hundreds of pounds of drugs with a street value of $117 million. The District 1 Drug Task Force, composed of 5 agents, was the unit cited at the top of Voda's ticket. McIntyre recalled what happened with Voda's case. Voda had contacted Landline, the official publication of the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association, a trucker magazine. McIntyre spoke with Mark Schmiermer, the senior editor of Landline, which had begun an investigation after Voda made contact and told her story. Get myself caught up here so I can see. McIntyre described Voda's case as a miscommunication from beginning to the end. The problem started with the exchange between Voda and Officer Gray. There was blame to go around, but McIntyre acknowledged the failure to tell Voda that she could choose between a deferred prosecution agreement and an ordinary ticket. Miss Voda didn't understand that she had the option of a court date, McIntyre said. She thought it was like, if you don't do this DPA, we're going to throw you in jail. It nearly came to that. More miscommunication after the district attorney decided to drop the case after Landline and the FBI got involved. Resulted in a warrant being issued for Voda's arrest. McIntyre caught it and asked District Attorney George Buddy Leach III, appointed by Governor Stitt in 2021, to dismiss the case 2 days later. McIntyre wrote a letter of apology to Voda. That led to the discussion of every step of what we're doing, McIntyre said. We made some changes based on that deal. For his part, Landline editor Schmier refused to speak on the record about why the magazine did not continue its investigation after Voda's warrant was dismissed. However, he admitted that their investigation had not uncovered how many deferred prosecution tickets were being given out. We didn't realize it was prevalent as it is, Schirmer said. And then a lot of money. I can't see chat right now, so. A lot of money. Even before he was hired in 2016, McIntyre said the exact role of District 1 Drug Task Force had begun to evolve. At least the mission shifted from direct drug trafficking crimes to things such as burglaries that were suspected of being drug-driven crimes. Now, practically speaking, the role of the Drug Task Force was whatever District Attorney Leach said it was. I've always said my job is whatever the boss tells me my job is, McIntyre said. So when he calls and says, hey, I need you to go and do whatever, that's what I'm going to do. The task force could always make traffic stops of the sort that concerned Attorney Worth. But part of the evolution of mission was the addition. Before McIntyre and Leach came along, when James Mike Boring was the district attorney, and what was described as either the commercial driver program or the public safety emphasis program, though neither designation was official. In short, the public safety emphasis program was an attempt to use deferred prosecutions to prevent serious accidents involving big trucks. Deferred prosecutions of truckers, McIntyre said, has succeeded in reducing accidents in Texas County without affecting truckers' driving records. Statistics supplied by the District Attorney Office revealed the program scope from 2019 to 2024. Agents of the District 1 Drug Task Force conducted 6,934 traffic stops, the vast majority in Texas County. Those included approximately 6,000 deferred prosecutions with an average of a $360 fine. That's more than $2.1 million in 6 years, most of it during Leach's tenures as DA. Now, this picture here, this is Voda. This is the lady. She looks like a badass, don't she? She wasn't going to take their shit. She, Tammy Voda. Voda's case came to an end when a local judge dismissed it, but her complaint was always broader than just one case. Voda argued that the federal anti-masking laws were prohibited deferred prosecutions to hide the convictions of commercial driver's license holders, made all of those tickets illegal. Something is very, very wrong here, Voda said. The landline investigation looked into it enough to realize that it was a murky area of whatever. There were differing interpretations of the law, Shermer says. With agreed, even in the total amount of money fell beside amounts seized in other districts, the numbers in District 1 made it seem like a symptomatic money-making machine. But it was it illegal? Anti-masking laws specifically that paying a fee or court costs amounted to a conviction that could not be masked or deferred. But was payment to a district attorney? The document that threatened Voda was criminal misdemeanor specified that she should send $360 directly to the DA, a court cost. That was the argument from District 1. The anti-masking statutes are all referencing citations that have been entered into the court, McIntyre said, and so on in Oklahoma. Until it hits the court, the district attorney holds the discretion just like he would any other criminal matter. Or more simply put, well-masked violations does not violate anti-masking laws. That's it. That is it. It is a bribe and a crime for a driver to offer a local police officer money to make a speeding ticket go away, but it does not violate anti-masking statute. It does not amount to extortion if law enforcement offers a driver a fee to make the same ticket disappear. Or maybe it does. A written statement supplied by National Traffic Law Center, which has published the Masking Quick Reference Guide, provides training and resource nationwide to raise awareness of anti-masking laws, offered specific on the origin of the law. Anti-masking provisions have been a part of federal law since 1999 when they were included in the Motor Carrier Safety Improvement Act. The law says that the state must not mask, defer imposition of judgment, or allow an individual to enter into a diversion program that would prevent a commercial driver's license holder conviction for any violation other than parking, vehicle weight, or vehicle defects. Ironically, anti-masking provisions are meant to prevent injuries and fatalities involving large trucks and buses. As to what's legal and what isn't, the NTLC statement put it simply. It is not uncommon for jurisdictions to use deferred prosecution as a part of plea agreements for non-CDL traffic violations, the statement read. However, offering deferred prosecution for CDL holders violates federal anti-masking regulations. While some jurisdictions may be unaware of these requirements, others may prioritize revenue generation through fines and plea deals, leading to non-compliance. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jurisdictions that repeatedly fail to follow federal guidelines can lose federal funding. But did any of this at Voda bleed amount to a violation of the Hobbs Act? Probably not. Proving extortion would require specific evidence and unlawful cohesive practices beyond standard legal enforcement mechanisms and would need to be investigated by the FBI. That's exactly what happened. Voda said at least the extent of the FBI having referred the matter to the U.S. Attorney, but Caleb McClure and Adam Schneider, public affairs specialist for the Oklahoma City office of the FBI and the U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Oklahoma, respectively, would neither confirm nor deny that an investigation was underway. 2 days later, after Oklahoma Watch visited Guyman to interview McIntyre and retrieve official documents related to the warrant for Voda's arrest, the district attorney chose, after internal discussions, according to McIntyre, to end the public safety INFAS program. Leach refused to comment for the story. What remains unclear is how widespread the practice of deferred prosecution for truckers might be in Oklahoma or beyond. McIntyre was unaware of deferred prosecutions being used anywhere else in the state. I just know that that's been our stance, McIntyre said. I'm not aware of any other district that's going. That hints at the heart of the problem. Without some like Voda raising a stink and calling on authorities and the press, it would be nearly impossible to uncover the practice when the whole point is that nothing is filed in court. There's no paper trail. If it's happening, Landline editor Shermer said it's not being publicized. And that was that. Let me get to you guys. I wasn't going to read the whole thing that says screw it. I'm going to read it. So let me get back to you guys and see what you are saying in chat. Now, I will tell you also, I'm going to read you a text message from earlier today, this morning. I'm not going to tell you who it's from or nothing. I'm not going to mention their names. Let me put my glasses on. But I think you guys need to hear this. Okay? Let's see here. Okay. It's really weird. Okay. Rock, I'm watching the replay last night, and I called BS on Beasley's story on the documentary. And on this live, it stated Karen Gray gave the ticket or whatever to the person in the newspaper article. Well, that's what I was saying about Chan Boley. When we talked on a previous time, he drives around in an SUV that says state police on it, just like Karen drives. And that's why I said he was drug task force. And as for the newspaper article, if you lived here, you would know that this is true because they do pull over semis a lot. And there was talk that that's what they have to do to make money now that the medical marijuana had passed. And then this person asked me, so what's going on with the sheriff in Boise City? And I thought Clint Twombly had that party and whatever for winning sheriff in the election. That's true. And then there's something else that they sent me that I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to go over because I need to investigate. It's just that person, he, she, I don't know if it's a he or a she. That person sent me something else to look into. And I have not had time because I'm here with you guys. So the team and I will get on it when we're done here. I do have a big problem. Okay. We're just going to say this again. I want to make sure I get everybody's comments and if anybody has anything to say. Now, what do you think about the DA, for one, never being elected? The other DA got sick. He got this job. He's in Beaver County. He's in Boise City. He's in Texas County. He's in Harper County. The DA is. That means the task force also runs all them counties. What do they really have going on here? Like, that's a big question. That's a big question. Okay. Shouldn't the chick he beat be that? Oh, I'm all the way back there. Okay. It's got a payoff, impound fees from his truck. Okay, see? You guys are still here, right? Don't tell me I've been sitting here talking to myself. Like, seriously? I've never not been sitting here talking to myself this whole time. That's it. I'm going to bed. If I'm talking to myself, I'm going to bed. That means I haven't got enough sleep. But I do appreciate the locals bringing things to me and letting me know what's going on. Because then we can dig into it. I have never thought KM is a good guy. We went over his indictment. We went over his drug task force burglary, and we went over all that. So seems like we do know what we're dealing with. You know, how could you even? Oh, somebody's here. Lots to take in for sure. Okay, listen, I was fixing to go. Okay, yeah, I'm going to take a nap because I've been up all night. And I've just been talking to myself for 30 minutes. And That's not a good sign. So thank you for letting me know you're still here. But okay, so you got Clint that got elected sheriff, didn't take it. What's going on there? You've got Buddy Leach, the DA, that is doing the 5. He's the prosecutor against the 5 under investigation, supposedly, according to that article. And that article was written 2/16 of 2025. So the article was written Sunday. It's interesting. So then, I know you guys are tired of my Brady Giglio shit, but I mean, what do you think? If you know that the DA is being investigated, and obviously the task force, and there is people from that task force that is on the witness list. I can tell you who's on that witness list. Hold on. From the DA task force. And they're under investigation too, and they're involved in this case. Interesting. Let's see here. I'm looking for the drug task force. Okay. We got a couple firefighters, got a couple Hugerton PD. Okay, the only one from the DA task force on the witness list is Kevin McIntyre. He is the only one on that witness list. Now, also what I want to know is that documentary. The documentary had James Beasley in it. Did I miss them releasing the gag order? Did I miss that? I probably missed it because his name is right here on the DA witness list as Jamie Beasley under the district attorney's office for the witness list. He just did a documentary. Does anybody know, was the gag order lifted? I'm just curious. And you might think I just pick shit apart, and maybe I do. But I want things right. I told you how it worked here, and a lot of people got out of their cases and their crimes over that Brady Giglio list. So it seems like every article I've read, Oklahoma has not been in compliant with the Brady list. And so I don't know what they're going to do about that. I'm sure that's being investigated now too. And I damn sure am going to stay on top of the body cams. I mean, have you guys watched that poor Brooks guy from New York that they killed him? The corrections officers killed him, but they didn't know that one of them's body camera was on. And so they're all being indicted tomorrow. Why is Texas County still getting away with not wearing body cams? And I'd be curious. I would almost bet that the DA task force don't wear body cams either. There's got to be a reason. Because video don't lie. Video don't lie. And has everybody forgot when they were trying to defund the police? I mean, why would you not have your agency wearing body cams? For one, to protect them, and two, so that the public believes in you. Like, listen, it's my own opinion that you got to be crooked as hell to not be wearing a body cam. I'm just going to say it. What do you have to hide? I mean, whew, you guys remember I'm going to show it to you again. This was interesting. Just to give you a minute to think about the other thing. and it has body cam. And Oklahoma is really good about FOIA acts, but let me tell you guys this. We're going to go over this again, just because. Hold on. You guys will remember this, though. I promise. Let me get this off of here. Share screen. Now remember, this officer is on the way to a ex-Tulsa PD officer that's threatening suicide and maybe hostages. So he's in high route when this happens.
Go on traffic.
A year ago.
North George Mary 045. North George Mary 045. I'll be center and 77.
Can't get closed caption. I tried.
Hello. Are you sure I'm going to swap call? Okay, so this photo, could you do an 85 and a 55? I was going. Going where? Call out. Where we going? The SWAT call out right over here. I didn't know we had one. We have an armed guy barricaded in the house. Used to be a police officer. And where at? Right down here on. Here in Lexington? Yeah. We have armed.
Like, don't you think they could be figuring this out after they get to this SWAT call? But it gets worse. It gets worse. I can't even believe that any of these people are still officers. This is crazy.
We don't know about it. All right, I'll call our chief and let him know. 301 next. According to the Cleveland County Sheriff, we have a hostage situation at that location.
So this is from a year ago. Supposedly there's a hostage situation, and the sheriff and the chief of police are going to try to decide who has the biggest balls and whose area this is, instead of taking care of the problem and working together. That's my opinion. And would this be why police officers don't want to wear body cam? Because then the public who pay you can see your body cam? I believe we pay for that.
Tell me what the fuck is going on. Tom right here. Where's Captain Tom? Captain Hawk. Yeah. Where's Captain Hawk?
We've realized that I'd like to know what's going on in my own damn city.
We would have notified you, sir.
We would have?
Yeah.
Hold on. I've been down there at the PD the whole fucking day.
According to the call, it says Lexington was notified, they refused to respond because of the call.
Okay, I don't know who the fuck said that.
First of all, sir,
It was Lexington PD, Cleveland County Sheriffs. And it was in the Oklahoman a year ago. Okay? I hope I answered that question. But this is ridiculous. So what about the hostage situation? And what about the ex-Tulsa police officer with the gun? Like, what's going on here?
it was notified, they refused to respond because of the call.
Okay, I don't know who the fuck said that.
First of all, sir, I know you're the chief. I'm just telling you.
I don't appreciate all of this going on and nobody notified me a damn thing about it.
Okay. I'm sorry, what's your name?
You want got my ass later?
Sir, I am too. You're not going to talk about chief like that, sir. That's not going to happen.
You can get the fuck out of my face. I don't give a fuck who you are. Okay? This is my county, too.
Back up.
No,
you don't.
He just said, what the fuck's going on?
This is
Like,
going to be good.
according to the call,
You need to stop.
Lexington PD is not
Chill out. Back up. Everything's going to be okay. But you need to back up.
I get it that you're
You can back
riled up, dude.
Negative.
But this right here ain't what
We're not going to be disrespectful.
Okay.
Sheriff, you need to back up out of my face, sir. You have no authority.
You're not going to tell me what to do, motherfucker. You're not going to get in my sheriff's face, just like you told me, motherfucker.
Get your hands off me, man. Back up, John.
Hey, pull him back.
No, my face said the same
He's
shit.
getting ready to go to jail.
Hold on.
He's getting ready
Hold
to go
on.
to jail.
I don't know who's in the right and who's in the wrong, but I realize this is the SWAT team. But on these sheriff officers, do you see one body cam? Because I don't. I'm looking for body cam on these sheriff officers. Looks like the city PD has body cam, but the sheriff don't. Let's look at that again. Tell me if you see one body cam on the sheriff officer. I'm going to start right here. He don't have a body cam.
I get it that you're
You can back
riled up, dude.
Negative.
But this right here ain't what
We're
it
not going to be disrespectful.
Okay.
Sheriff, you need to back up out of my face, sir. You have no authority.
You're not going to fucking tell me what to do, motherfucker. You're not going to get in my sheriff's face, just like you told me, motherfucker.
Get your hands off me, man. Back up, John.
Hey, pull him back.
No, he
He's
just
in the
came up
sheriff's
to my
face.
face and said the same
He's
shit.
getting ready.
So it seems like PD in Oklahoma wear body cam, but maybe not the sheriffs. Why? Listen, I am all for law enforcement. I am all for their safety. As a matter of fact, I got a flag outside, support the blue. I'm a big supporter, but you got to do it right. And Oklahoma, y'all need to stand up. Why is your sheriff department, any department, not wearing body cam? We are in 2025. You pay these salaries. Do you realize, we're going to look it up, did you realize they raised the sheriff's in Oklahoma's salary by $30,000? You guys, they just all got a pay raise. We'll look it up. That's my opinion, but we'll look up the proof. I believe it's $30,000. They got a pay raise, and they still are not being transparent with us. They're not wearing body cams. Listen, even if you don't live there, you should be pitching a fit. If you got to go to Texas and you're going from Kansas, you're going to go through Oklahoma, right? I'm just saying. The locals there are scared. I believe that. I believe they are scared. But I also believe, oh, it must be almost time for Rick to come home. I also believe that we pay their salaries. I think I don't have to think. I was married to law enforcement. I would feel a lot safer that they had body camera for their safety. But what the hell's going on here?
Stop. He's getting ready to go to jail. Stop. You need to back off. This is our operation. This is our county. Understand?
Oh, yeah. Perfectly fucking clear. Perfectly clear. Come on. Let's run that fucking relationship.
So, sorry. I did that.
Yeah.
So my question
Perfectly
is,
fucking clear. Perfectly clear.
my question is, what happened with the ex-cop from Tulsa with the hostages? I mean, we saw the guy get pulled over. We saw him tell the police officer, the local city police officer, he was with SWAT and was headed to a hostage situation. And we never saw what happened with the hostage, and his body camera was going the whole time. Strange, huh?
Come on. Let's run that fucking relationship.
Yes. I want that lieutenant's name.
And then what he say? Just run that fucking relationship.
Yes. I want that lieutenant's name. Fuck, put his hands on me. Because you know we recorded.
What'd he say? Did you know we recorded? Like it.
Yes. I want that lieutenant's
Did
name.
you know I recorded it?
Fuck, put his hands on me. Because you know we recorded.
Anyway, guys, I'll take any questions you have, anything else you want me to bring up, but I just don't know. Oh, hey, what country? Oh, USA. I'm sorry, USA. I think you might have meant county, but this is in the USA. You're welcome. Oh boy, communication needs worked on. Absolutely. Body cameras are for their own good as well. Yeah. So if you've got a police department, whether it be sheriff or PD, that's not wearing body cams, you got to ask yourself as the public, why? Especially with all the defunding the police that went on. You know, I know myself that I donated towards vests for the police dogs. So I think the police dogs should have body cameras too, and in a lot of towns they do. Even the canine officers wear body cams. But your sheriff department don't? I don't know, guys. This is just very interesting. So, a lot going on. How does it affect the 5 and the Kansas Moms case? Well, one might say you got the sheriff of Texas County, who's on the Brady list. He's a witness on the list. You got KM, the Drug Task Force #1 agent, also on the witness list. Also was grand jury indicted. Also got his police certification taken away. He lied, faked a burglary, and just went to the other end of the state and had a suspension for a few years, become the chief of police in Keys, and then something happened with the sheriff in Cimarron, so he was the sheriff there for a little bit, and now he's a drug task force agent again. Like, how does that happen? And believe it or not, I haven't found his name on the Brady list, but I found a lot of articles where Oklahoma is not conforming to the Brady list. Like they're in trouble. They're not following the Brady list. So, what do you do? I don't know. Let's go back and check on that Delta plane though before we go. If you guys got any questions, I'm ready to answer them. Let's go back and see about this Delta plane crash. And how did it land upside down? If you just came in, there was a plane crash from Minnesota. It happened in Canada at the airport while it was landing. And here's some pictures. We're going to share it. I know we're all over the place. That's why it says Rock Talk Dabbles. Glad you're back, Christopher. I don't know what I did without you here. You know, you're my main person. It's teasing you. And I love you. I love having you in my group. Let's see here. Delta plane crash. It looks like they're still working on it. The plane is upside down. Said it happened on landing. Both wings are missing and the tail. And I don't know where the volume. They're just not giving volume on this right now. So we'll go back and let's see here. Updated 2 minutes ago. Let's see this one.
The Delta Airlines crash landing in Toronto. We are getting some video in live right now, so we want to pass that along to you. This is courtesy of CTV and showcasing this Delta Airlines flight that is now upside down after a crash in Toronto. This was a version of a situation that happened earlier today. And again, the flight crash landing, it originated from Minneapolis, crash landed here in Toronto. And the best case scenario, though, did happen with all passengers safe, all crew members safe as well. And again, we are bringing this to you here on live now from Fox as we are seeing more of the emergency crews just centered in around this area in the airport that is no doubt been seeing such a different day than what they could have expected with this crash landing that happened. But again, everyone safe here in this situation. No crew members hurt, no passengers hurt. We are learning some new information, though, that 8 people were injured and taken to a local hospital. So very fluid situation still unfolding right now, as you can imagine. But upside down, this plane is Delta Airlines flight originated from Minneapolis. And we're bringing this courtesy, again, of CTV that is providing this shot right now for us. But here is the airport in Toronto. And you're seeing more first responders there at the scene of looks like a very cold and frigid day there as expected in Canada. But no doubt, a full-on investigation will be happening. So we are learning of 8 people injured here, unfortunately, in this crash landing. But when you look at the scene here, could have been much worse, though, when you are looking at a plane that is upside down right now and with the wheels up and not on the ground there. That is a sight that's fortunately here, we do not see too often, but unfortunate for the crew and the passengers, and how scary this all must have been as they were coming in for a landing. And then whatever happened, obviously the investigation will follow, and we'll be getting some details as it unfolds there. But
former commercial pilot and aviation expert, Captain Mike Caulfield, joins me now. Mike, thank you very much for getting on the phone with us on this President's Day. As you look at this, give us a thought about what goes through your mind.
Well, thanks for calling it. Again, this is a miracle. But there are very few instances globally where an airplane ends up literally on its back. I mean, it's remarkable. Now, I've looked at some early data, as you both know, or as the NTSB will sign a memorandum of understanding with the Canadian authority probably within the hour, because Canada will take authorization of the investigation. But they have an agreement with the United States, so that'll be executed hopefully very shortly, because Delta is a U.S. company. The remarkableness of it, as we were just saying, is the right wing's off. The front nose gear is up. I mean, it's out. We don't see the main gears. At 500 feet, the aircraft was just only doing 126 miles an hour, so it was slow. And it was descending at almost 1,100 feet a minute. Now, at a normal glide path at 500 feet, you'd only be doing about 500 feet descent rate, or 400 feet, 600 at the most. So it had an aggressive descent rate at 500 feet. Wow. It'll be interesting to see where the throttles were and where the thrust was at that point. I'm just, again, guessing. I haven't seen any live video yet, but
yeah, that's what we're waiting for.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. No, your information is very helpful here. 70-mile-an-hour winds. At what point would air traffic control say, you know what, go back up, let's land you somewhere else, or let's circle for a little bit, hope these winds die down? At what point do they say don't land with winds?
Well, that's another interesting thing. The captain's authority holds more weight than you can imagine. The airport authority themselves in Canada could close the airport if they felt winds and it was unsafe to operate at the airport, period. If the captain has a form that he can look at in his computer or book that actually shows maximum winds, maximum crosswind, and maximum headwind, and of course tailwind, you don't ever land in any more than 10 knot of a tailwind ever. So they're going to go back and look at that immediately too. 70 knots is a lot. So unless it's coming right up and down the runway, and can I add one thing to that?
Please.
Technically.
Mike, are you there?
Hello?
No,
yeah, I'm sorry.
We got you. Go ahead.
can I add one technical thing? That the way that works is you have a speed that's called VREF, and that's the speed that you normally operate on under temperature and wind conditions of a normal day. And so if the winds are 70 miles an hour, you either add anything over 10 knots, you add half of the wind plus any gust. So in this case, you'd have to have added almost 50, 60 knots to the approach speed. Well, they were way slow. And I'd have to go back and look at what the exact winds were. But yeah, at one point you would say, as a captain, if I'm descending at 1,100 feet a minute at 500 feet and I'm slow, then I would be executing the go around.
Yeah, you would be putting the nose back up and going back up for another round potentially, as I understand it.
Or find an alternate airport. Absolutely.
Right. Why would they have been going so slowly, do you think? Is this are they headwinds? Is that wind holding them back?
I haven't seen, forgive me for this, but I have not seen the actual current winds. I know the runways in Toronto, I've landed at 100 times. They're very, 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 very long. So that's a good thing.
Yep.
But I haven't seen what direction relative to the runway heading in terms of how much off the nose. It's remarkable to me that the airplane's upside down like this.
It's incredible.
Now, I know that someone may or may not. I mean, there's been some injuries reported, but for the airplane not to have immediately caught on fire and mass casualties, it's truly a miracle.
So, Mike, let me ask you this, because sometimes when a plane is landing in heavy winds, they'll try to sort of take it a little bit off straight, to come a little bit on an angle, and then put maybe the front wheel down first and then the second wheel. Do you think that the winds may have tipped them and snapped this wing?
Yeah, you could have. That can happen where you have a bit of a crosswind, and this is more technical, forgive me, but you end up doing a little bit of a lowering a wing into the wind, into the crosswind. So in this case, I'm guessing it would have been off to the right, but you could have hit the tip of that wing. And yes, these are suppositions. I haven't seen any videos yet. But yes, you could have tapped that wing on the runway. You could have bounced off as descent rate was going. You could have bounced hard on the runway on the right, main gear. You sure don't want to land on the nose gear, because that creates a porpoise effect where it just starts bouncing down the runway, and that's bad.
Let me. So we're getting more details, and so I ask our viewers to hang with us as we do this, because the original number I heard was 70, but now we're hearing that it was 40-mile-an-hour winds. How does that change the dynamic, Mike?
Well, again, it goes back to you go back to the chart, and I don't have a RJ chart in front of me, but 40 miles an hour, I mean, if it's right on the nose, that's doable, right? So you'd add 20, 25 knots to your VREF speed, which, let's say your VREF speed for that airplane that day was 135, you should have been landing at about 160 instead of 125.
So it was going too slow, in your opinion, just based on what you see. And I just want to add this, just all 80 people, for anybody out there who might know someone on this plane, we can report according to, this is coming from Reuters. So they're reporting that all 80 people on this flight were evacuated from this plane. So that's
just
also an amazing,
blessing.
I think of the miracle on the Hudson when that plane landed on the water. This one landed in the snow upside down, and all 80 people walked out. Last thought on that, Mike, I'm going to, as we bring in.
Well, I hope again that we get the NTSB and the Canadian authorities signing the MOU, the memorandum to investigate quickly. We need to remember that what we hear at the very beginning, you and I both know this.
Absolutely.
We know that what we hear at the beginning is not always what actually has occurred, a week later. So hopefully you and I can talk more, and we can work through this so that folks know that still, in all the accidents we've seen, and I'm not laughing at that, but in terms of it's still the safest way to travel.
Yeah, it is an extraordinary image. And as I said, it reminds me of the Miracle on the Hudson, because we looked at that and boy, we'd never seen anything like that before. People walking out onto the wing, and Captain Sully, who went back and forth, I think twice, to make sure that everyone was out. And this plane lying on its back in Toronto, and
with a wing off.
And we're told that the 80 people who were on it, boy, they're shaken up for sure, and some of them are injured, and I don't want to forget them. One may be critically injured, so we're continuing to get information on this, and continue to kind of figure out how this happened. I mean, it also could be we don't know whether it was icy on this runway once it hit there.
They could have hit a snowbank where the plows had maybe put snow where it wasn't supposed to be. Absolutely.
All right, Mike, I want to thank you so much. Captain Mike Caulfield, great to have you with us today. Scary situation in Toronto. So my thanks to Mike.
Yeah, I agree, Christopher. 80 people had a hell of a ride to remember. All right, so we went over. Who is this? I don't know. Anyway, we went over the DA and the DA task force supposedly being under investigation, according to the Oklahoma Watch. We went over Clint Twombly was elected sheriff, and the guy that was the deputy sheriff was sworn in as the sheriff. I don't know what's going on in the Panhandle. You guys are there. Let me know what's really going on down there. A lot of questions. Just when I think that things have settled down, there's more questions. And we want to make sure that Veronica and Julian get justice. Their family gets justice. There is some other stories out there that I've been told, like something about a GoFundMe. I'm just going to say it. Something about a GoFundMe that to hire a probate attorney to keep somebody's house, and possibly, it's weird. I'll just say that. But supposedly there's a GoFundMe, and it's to hire a probate attorney, is what I'm understanding. Listen, I'm not there, and I don't have the receipt for that to back it up, so I don't really like talking about it. But that's got some stuff going on down there. And so many people say, well, they've got the people that did it. I agree. They've got people that did it, but I feel like there's more people involved. I mean, the God's Misfits just didn't, go apart over these 5 people. And we've been told there was more than these 5 people. As a matter of fact, I wasn't in the court last time, but the way I understood it, Cora actually named more people that was part of the God's Misfits. So I don't really know. Don't really know, but I do know that, let's look up KSN. Julia Thatcher. KSN, Julia Thatcher. Because I think she might have, now that I think about it, mentioned a little bit of what Cora said. I think so. I think she really might have. Let's see here. Well, I don't want to read. Okay, here we go. I'm about out of voice. Everybody's scared to tell the truth. I agree with that. I do agree with that. Everybody's scared to tell the truth. They've been living in fear for far too long. Do I believe this is the first time that people's disappeared? No. So many stories that many of you locals have told me that you believe of homicides that were ruled as suicides. I mean, there is several of you that has told me stories about your own family. And like Deb C says, we are here to uncover all the truths. We are not going to leave anything hidden. So be looking into that GoFundMe to save a house. Is that really for a probate attorney? Is that what's going on there? And why? I mean, what's going on? Anyway, what happened to the other GoFundMes? Where'd that money go? There's also been a little rumor that somebody's suing the fiance for money. Until we find them documents, I'm not going to cover it because we want the receipts to cover it. But it's interesting because we know there was GoFundMes done. So, let's see here. I'm hoping that it's going to be over here. So, where's the volume? There's the volume.
Common side effect is nausea. When migraine takes your time, take Nurtec. Ask your doctor about Nurtec ODT.
I want transcripts.
Good evening.
And I will never
joining
miss
us tonight
another
on
day.
Jeff
I
Herndon.
know.
A 2-day preliminary hearing now over for some of the suspects accused of murdering 2 Kansas mothers. During the prelims, 2 of the suspects, Cole Twombly and Tiffany Adams, waived their rights to a preliminary hearing and a speedy trial. Julia Thatcher and Peyton Steiner in Guyman, Oklahoma, with what key testimony revealed.
The 5 suspects connected by a group referred to as God's Misfits. Cora Twombly and Paul Grice say that group centered around prayer and political beliefs. Both say that Tiffany Adams and Tad Colum used allegations that her grandchildren were being abused by a family member of Veronica Butler to fuel anger and hatred leading up to the murders of Jillian Kelly and Veronica Butler. Cora Twombly and Paul Grice said they knew before the murders a court supervisor would be there, but say Tiffany Adams told them it was a nobody or referred to Jillian as collateral damage. Cora said her daughter asked questions. And
now, I will say that Wrangler said the only one that he ever met was Jillian. So was Jillian writing reports, giving them back to the judge, and Granny didn't like the reports, and so she got this other lady, and so had a vendetta against Jillian too? Was this targeted to Jillian too? Was she not just in our eyes, both of them's innocent, like as far as Veronica and Jillian. But we thought she was doing her job, supervised visitation, but was she targeted too from Granny? I mean, seems like that's very possible with everything that's coming out. Because if she was the one that did all the reports and then Granny wanted somebody else, and then Granny tells that person, I don't need you for a couple weeks, because she knows that Jillian's going to be brought back in. It's going to be interesting to see what Ellie has on all that in the court case. Because my opinion, it's just my opinion, is she was targeted too, just as much as Veronica.
piece together what happened. The 16-year-old questioned why Jillian Kelly had to die too, saying she had a family. Cora said, according to Tiffany, Jillian was helping Veronica and therefore wasn't innocent either. Paul Grice admitted to stabbing Veronica Butler to death. He and Cora testified.
Listen, look at this too. Listen, Texas County, I don't want to tell you how to do your jobs, but I mean, even the U.S. Marshals, when they transport prisoners, they damn sure don't have their gun right next to the perpetrators. And I don't know how many of these videos I got to watch, and you got your guns right next to the perpetrator. Like, what is going on?
Veronica Butler to death. He and Cora testified that the killings did not go as planned, with so much more blood at the crime scene than anticipated. Paul said he felt set up to be the only one with blood on his hands, murdering both women. However, he could not.
And my other question will always be, why was there no search? Okay, so there's blood there, and you think there's enough blood that couldn't survive it. But how do you know that? And why wasn't there immediately a command center? I mean, I did see the guy from Elkhart You know, him and his wife was coming back from Guyman. We saw the search crew. It was made up of firemen and farmers on four-wheelers. But was there ever an LE search crew? Some Kansas sheriff's deputies said that they came to help search, was told no. So I don't know. Strange. Like, you had no bodies. Why it took 14 days? Why wasn't you searching every day? I don't know. And don't say you were, because we were everywhere. And we never saw anybody searching other than the people that came to help, and it was never LE. Never once did LE come to help us or say anything or anything. So,
Not say with certainty that Jillian Kelly was alive in the back of the farm trailer. He said he panicked when he thought she was waking up and feared how she would feel if she woke up buried alive in the freezer, so he stabbed her. Jamie Beasley, who owns the property where the bodies were found, said he had growing concerns about what Tad did on his property the morning of the murders. He was supposed to be burying trees and concrete as part of an arrangement. During a conversation after the murders about the skid steer on his property.
Okay, that's a lot different, in my opinion, than what he said in that documentary. He had growing concerns that morning. Why didn't he go to LE then that morning? Why did he wait for a warrant 14 days later?
The conversation after the murders about the skid steer on his property, Tad asked Jamie to put his phone in the car, but did not go into further detail about why.
No, but I'd met with, if you go back to the video, I'd met with the Texas County Sheriff, and he didn't want me having him on the YouTube video. He did give us a place to put the horses, told us where that was, but he knew we was coming there to search. He was called ahead of time, and we were told that searches were being done. So no, never came out there, asked me anything. The one thing he did tell me was, don't go on any property without permission. Don't have me out there arresting you for trespassing. He did say that.
Paul said he told his wife about the murders after they were done, but said his wife not being charged is not part of the plea agreement. Cora agreed to testify. So her daughter.
Okay, so he did tell his wife right after the murders were done?
Not being charged.
Whoa.
Paul said he told his wife about the murders after they were done, but said his wife not being charged is not part of the plea agreement. Cora agreed to testify, so her daughter doesn't have to testify, and that the state would recommend life with all but 30 years suspended, meaning she could be eligible for parole after 30 years. Tad Colum is the only suspect who did not waive his right to a preliminary hearing or to a speedy trial. He's due back in court in January. Before the prelims, I talked to the DA about the death penalty. He couldn't give me specifics, but said if they were to seek the death penalty, each filing would have to be handwritten and done individually. He said that wouldn't happen for at least 30 days. I talked to a family member of Veronica Butler. She said the state did ask them their opinions about the death penalty for Tad Colum and Tiffany Adams specifically, but she said their family felt like that would be the easy way out for the suspects.
Oh, see, we were talking about that too. I said it should be left up to the family whether the death penalty is sought. Now let's remember, there's two families here. We got Jillian's family and then Veronica's family. And it needs to be, all the families need to give their opinion if they want their opinion known. If all the families have an opinion on it, the DA should go with the family's opinions as far as the death penalty. Well, that's my thing. That's what I think.
He said their family felt like that would be the easy way out for the suspects. Here for you in Guyman, Oklahoma, Julia Thatcher, KSN News 3.
We know how much parents do, and we're with you every step of the way. We simplify the tough stuff, like car seat installations, baby proofing.
All right. Don't have me come arrest you for trespassing. He did say that. He sure did. He said, don't Don't go on property that you don't have permission to. Don't have me come arrest you for trespassing. Yeah. Should have had a notice out that all landowner got that the area was being searched. Yeah. I did see in the documentary, and it was played before this, that that alert that went out, what was it, 6 o'clock that night though? The alert. So this is what else I have to say about this is, so there's certain people that says the police knew everything. They were holding it tight at the best, but they released an alert that people in the area got at 6 something at night. So I don't know. You guys figure it out. I mean, tell me what you think, because it just seems really weird. You send out what's like an Amber Alert, but then you yourself are not out looking for them? Make it make sense. You send out basically what's an Amber Alert, but then you as LE are not out looking for them. You could have got the helicopter from KOCO. I mean, there's plenty of helicopters and been right on it. And not only that, if you'd have did that, you would have known. You would have seen like the hay and maybe fresh dirt moved. If you'd have did it the day of, you know, do you not watch the first 48 hours? It's the most important of a crime, especially murders. The first 48 is the most important. That's when you get your witnesses and you get everything. Hell, Grice and them was at a Easter thing that night. I don't know. This case makes my head hurt. Like, seriously. And so a part of me wished I didn't care, but I do. So as far as me going away, it's not going to happen because I do care. So anyway, if nobody has anything else to say, this was a lot for the day, I know. And Rock needs to fix something to eat and go to bed. I'm tired. And let the team rest a little bit. You know, all that was unleashed on us on our live last night, so we stayed up. And there was quite a few of us that stayed up digging. And again, this is the Rock Chalk family. This is everybody's group. I'm just the person that's speaking and pulls stuff up on the computer. I don't do all the investigation. Everybody works on it. And I mean everybody. And many of them are locals. Okay? So with that said, I get told a lot. There's a lot that, unless I've got receipts, I don't like to release it. But if you're hearing anything about any of the other two things I mentioned, which was possibly a GoFundMe for a probate attorney to fight a family for the house or something, some house, I don't know. And then supposedly there's a lawsuit too. I don't know. I haven't seen the paperwork, but a lawsuit with maybe the fiance. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird because I can't find anything in the OSCN. So it's rumor. Rumors don't mean shit. They're not true if they're rumors. Need receipts. So if anybody has the receipts on that, or where that is proof, I'd be glad to discuss it with you more if that's what you want. But we need more proof than I believe the people that's telling me it. I'm going to tell you the truth. I believe them. I just want the documentation to follow it. So, and in that documentary, Brian Hinton, if you look, he's got the documentation behind him, and then he shows it in the screen, and I stop it and show you it. So, about the allegations. Again, I will say 1,000 times over, Veronica and Jillian was innocent. I absolutely believe Veronica loved her children more than anything. I believe she was doing everything right to try to get custody back. And I believe that her and Wrangler wanted shared custody. I believe they wanted both parents. Now these kids, they don't have their grandma no more. They don't have their mom. And their dad hasn't got to see them. And there's another rumor that the kids aren't doing that great. That they got maybe a peeing problem, like at school and in the bed. I don't know. Certain people send me stuff, so I don't have any documentation on that. And I do talk to Wrangler, but he hasn't even got to talk to his kids. So I know there's a court date coming up for that. I'm wishing Wrangler the best of luck. I know he's doing well. I know he's got a good job. I don't know why anybody wouldn't want the children to be with their father, or if it was turned around, their mother. I've seen nothing that connects them to this. You know, you people say all the time, you shouldn't blame the parents for what their kids do. Well, you shouldn't blame the kids for what the parent does, and either. I mean, he's a victim. That's my opinion. He's a victim. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a great Monday. I know in our area it's going to be nasty, and we're going to get a lot of snow. I don't know about you, but always stay frozen, always stay strapped, and always stay alert. Keep an eye on your surroundings. This world has gone crazy. And it's people like us, taxpayers, citizens, that have to make everybody accountable. So it's no different than our federal government. You know, we complain about that. Same thing with your city and county. They're paid by your taxpayer money. So, and grant money. And where does grant money come? It comes from the federal government. Well, where does that come from? It comes from us. So in all actuality, we are the boss. It's just, they're not being very transparent. And we need more transparency. Let's see here. Somebody sent me something. Let me make sure that I'm not missing anything. Yes, you can. Hold on. Sorry, that was a message. Let's see here. Let's see what this is. Let's see what it is. I know Rick will be home anytime. Okay. Well, anyway, there's still more information coming in, and thank you to everybody that sends that information. I don't ever tell where I got it, so that you're there, you know what's going on, and I won't ever give your name up. And actually, I don't even know your name. I know all the names I told you. Anybody, you guys should always have on YouTube not your real name. There's a lot of craziness in the streets. So with that said, I don't even know people's real names here. So, I mean, Christopher could be Shannon. I don't know. I don't have a clue. So with that said, just remember that. And so I wouldn't know your name anyway to tell that you said something. Nor would I want to know your real name. Yeah, I'm going to look more into that. I got it. Okay. Well, it seems like one of the family members might be connected with Tulsa Police Department too. Like, it's weird. I'll check into it. And then I'll let you guys know. Otherwise, again, have a great Monday. Much love to everybody. And yeah, Shannon, I don't know. Hell, I don't even know that your name's Bianca. You know what I mean? So, yeah. You could be Dear John, as far as I know. Let's see. CB, Dear John, South Dakota, whatever, asshole. You know, whatever. Whatever it is. Duck, Duck, Goose, or whatever your name is, too. I mean, again, I laugh about it, but I absolutely say all the time, don't ever go on YouTube with your real name. But that said, much love to everybody. We'll catch you again soon. If something else comes up, we'll go live. I do keep getting messages, so I want to make sure that again, that I think all the mods, I think the whole team, like I definitely don't do this alone. I do spend a lot of time on it, believe me, but it's not just me. There's a whole group of us. So, not anybody does more work than anybody else. So, with that said, much love, guys. Have a great Monday.